All right, hello and welcome to everyone that has just joined. My name is Devin Sears. I'll be joined momentarily by my friend and coworker, Chris Lambiazzi. And today we are talking about 5 tips to create a memorable holiday promotion with your e-commerce store. And obviously we'll get pretty deep into this in just a few minutes. I've got a couple housekeeping items I want to cover, but first just a little bit of background and introduction. Everyone knows that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, and a lot of other holiday sales are right around the corner. So we wanted to take today to talk about a few different ways that you can really make sure that your e-commerce store is ready for those sales, and also go into a couple marketing tactics that you can do if it makes sense for your store to make sure that you're driving traffic to your store during those holiday sales. But getting ahead of myself just a little bit, let's first off, whoops, went a little too far there. We have myself, I'm Devin Sears. I'm the field marketing manager here at Bluehost. And as I mentioned, I'm joined by my good friend, Chris. He's a senior director of product marketing. So he is in charge of bringing products to the market for Bluehost. And I've worked with him for many years now. He's awesome at what he does, and I'm super excited to have him join us today. Before we get into the content of what we'll be talking about, though, there's a few housekeeping items that I'd like to cover. First, to make sure that you can hear us, find the questions box and just type in there where you're tuning in from. It's always helpful for me to know that people can hear me, that they can see what's on the screen. And also, second, I guess, you need to find the questions box. So within the GoToWebinar dashboard, there should be an area titled questions where you can type things into. If you are having a hard time hearing me or seeing the presentation or anything like that, go ahead and drop that in the question box. For the most part, I will be monitoring that and answering questions as they arise. Chris will be presenting the content that we have for today. Okay, it looks like we're getting some places dropped in. Las Vegas, very cool. Virginia, awesome, love it. Thank you all for tuning in. In addition, if you have any questions that you're hoping that we answer on today's webinar, feel free to drop those in as well. We want to make sure that this is educational and helpful for you. So we want to do everything we can to make sure it's fitting what you're hoping to get out of this webinar. If the audio cuts out for any reason or there's any technical issues, I would just try dropping and rejoining the webinar. That fixes most of the issues. If it's something in additional to that, you will need to go to the GoToWebinar help desk to get their support. Sadly, that's not something on our end that we can fix, but please do make sure that you drop that into the question box so we know if there's a big problem on our end or if there's just a small isolated incident on one of the attendees' ends. To answer a few questions, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar. All of our webinars are also on YouTube under the Bluehost channel for watching and later consumption, so feel free to tune into that. And with that, let's go to what we'll be covering. And by the way, while we get into the content, I will be answering as many questions as I possibly can. So feel free to ask those. Whatever questions that I don't have the answer to, or if I think it'll be beneficial to everyone, then I will hold those for a Q&A, which will come at the very end of the call. So we will be having a Q&A where we'll be answering those questions. All right, let's see. Okay, so let me tell you what we'll be covering, and then I'll turn the time over to Chris, and he'll take it away from there. We've got 5 tips, and within those tips, we have a lot of sub-tips. So we've got a lot that we want to be covering today. Chapter 1, we'll be getting your site ready for traffic spikes. Holiday season, we're expecting a lot of traffic. We're going to try to drive more traffic to your website. So a couple tips, things you can do to make sure that your website is ready for that spike in traffic. Chapter 2 will be a review of last year's analytics to drive this year's results. So we'll be walking you through different analytics for your website that you should be taking a look at so that you can help figure out what to do for this holiday season. Chapter 3 will be design changes that will make an impression. We'll take a look at a couple of examples from larger brands and see what learnings we can take from that. Chapter 4 will be preparing your store, the magic behind the curtain. So that will be making sure that you have the right plugins, the right setup, the right shipping, the right terms and conditions, the right payment methods, all of that set up so that when someone comes to your store, you're ready to go. And then we'll finish on chapter 5, which is marketing to move the needle with sales. So we'll come up with a couple different tactics that you can apply to your store during this holiday season to really try to increase the traffic and increase your sales. And then at the end of that, we will be having a Q&A. So please drop questions as they come up, and I will do everything I can to answer, and I will answer any questions, or we'll ask questions to Chris at the end if I don't know the answer. So with that, Chris, if you're with us, please,
I'm here.
Awesome. Please jump on in. I'm going to turn off my camera so you don't see me staring at the questions box, but I will be back at the Q&A portion. So Chris, take it
Awesome.
away.
I'm going to take away keyboard access real quick so that I have all the power. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Lambiase. I have been in hosting for over 12 years. I have built hundreds of websites. Most of them have been with WordPress, but I've also used Wix and Squarespace. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is definitely a topic that I am very passionate about. Also, being the product marketer here, I'm really eager to get into some of the analytics and the marketing tactics that we'll cover. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump right in. All right, chapter 1, getting your site ready for holiday traffic spikes. This is what I consider to be the basics. So we're going to start at sort of a foundational level, right? This is what you should do for any website. It's not just your online store. It could be a blog. It could be anything that you are preparing for a large influx of people to come to your website. You should do these things, regardless of the seasonality, regardless of a promotion. First and foremost, is your hosting up to date? Are you on the right plan, right? When I say, are you on the right plan, what I really mean here is, are you on, it's okay to be on the basic plan. Don't get me wrong. If you've already done the analysis, you know exactly what kind of traffic you have to expect, and you know the basic plan is right for you, that's fine. Do not feel like you need to upgrade. But if you've done the analysis last year and you saw that perhaps your website did in fact struggle a little bit, or perhaps slow down a little bit because you are on the basic plan, this is the right time before the next spike, before the next seasonal promotion, to look into what else does your host have to offer. Do they have higher tier plans that perhaps allow for greater traffic? Or do they have scalable plans that allow for traffic spikes, something like a cloud hosting? I don't recommend necessarily jumping into the VPS and dedicated world unless you're ready for it. But the bottom line is use your analytics from last year to answer that question. Am I on the right plan? The next thing, and I cannot stress this enough, is when does your website plan or your domain expire? I've seen this happen so many times where a sale is about to happen and they didn't realize that last month their domain was going to expire. All of a sudden there's a scramble. The domain is already expired. Now there's an even bigger scramble to try to reclaim that domain. So always just keep in mind when your domain is set to expire, when your website plan is set to expire, and make sure those things are just kind of, for housekeeping, ready to go. The next one is your site mobile friendly? More and more we see customers and visitors and people who leverage the internet as a whole, leveraging it from their phones, from their tablets, right? So as you are looking at your website, does it look good on your laptop? Does it look good on your desktop? But does it also look good on a phone? Do all the CTA buttons work? Do the plugins that you have installed also work in a mobile capacity? These are things that you just sort of a pulse check, if you will, to make sure that your site's ready to go. The last one I'd call out here is make sure your plugins are up to date, your themes are up to date, and if you're using WordPress, make sure your WordPress core files are up to date. The last I'd say study that I saw was over 30% of WordPress, I would say, hacks or infringes, things along those lines, come from WordPress core not being updated. It's actually very simple to do. Most hosts up to this at this point in time will do automatic updates for you. So this is just one of those, again, check the box, make sure that these things are all good and ready to go. The next sort of phase of this, again, sort of laying the foundation, laying the groundwork, is do you have backups ready for your website? Do you back up your website before and after your updates, right? Sometimes when you push an update, for example, update PHP or update a theme, some component of your website might break, right? So it's beneficial to have a backup that was before you push the update. and then after you've made the update. If you make the update and everything looks great, awesome. Let's go ahead and put the little pin in the timeline there so that you can always jump back to it at a steady state in which everything was working. The next one, does your site have adequate security? Basically what this means is, can you be hacked, or can you detect when malware is being injected into your SQL? Can you detect when malware is being injected into your comment box? Things along those lines. Do you feel that your website has adequate security? Are you using an SSL, right? Um, the third bullet point here is something that, again, I can't stress enough because I've seen this happen way too many times, is do you or your host have a disaster recovery plan? And that differs a little bit from a backup, right? Your backup is your actual website files that are stored, whether you want to do it locally or stored in the cloud, so that you can restore your website in the event something were to happen. A disaster recovery plan is what happens if your host goes down. Do you have a way does the host give you a guaranteed way to get your website back up and running, or do you have a way to port your website over to another provider quickly? Now, disaster recovery plans are usually for, I would say, mid-market level websites that have a lot of traffic ongoing, but it's just good to know in the back of your mind, hey, even my small business website, do I have a disaster recovery plan? What is that? How long would it take to get my website back up and running in the event an entire data center were to go down? So some services to consider. There's a few things that are not on here that I would be more than happy to talk about in the Q&A. But basically, SiteLock Security is a service that I really enjoy. I use it all the time. Basically, it protects from malware. It is a malware detection and removal service. So again, are you aware that people are trying to inject malware into your website at any one of the particular entry points? CodeGuard Backup is a very simple to use backup service. It assists with daily backups. It only really requires you to have a domain and a very basic website. You can back up to 5 websites on their basic plan. Super simple to use. Jetpack backups for the WordPress diehards out there. This one will assist with daily and real-time backups. I use Jetpack backup all the time. It's awesome. It's one of those things where as I am typing, as I am typing and hitting publish, I know what I just changed also got backed up. So it's sort of a, set it and forget it, if you will. And of course, I 100% recommend everybody has an SSL certificate. I don't care if it's even like a blog about cats, right? You should have an SSL certificate. It does in fact encrypt your data during purchases. You use a secure channel, but also it goes a little bit further in that, I don't know how many of you out there shopping online, but when you see that little lock icon next to your browser or in your browser, there's a sense of confidence when you purchase from that particular website versus when you go to a website that lock isn't there and you're like, I don't know if this is real or not. So to me, an SSL certificate is absolutely necessary. I don't just recommend it, I think it should just be standard. Next slide here. This is just simply an example. So with Bluehost, we give a very easy way to, obviously update your plugins. Most website providers will have a dashboard like this, especially if they're a managed provider. If they're managed WordPress, or heck, even if you're on a Wix or a Squarespace, you're somewhere inside of your account management dashboard, you're going to have a way to update your extensions, update your plugins, anything that is sort of peripheral to your website. What I typically recommend is go in here, just make sure that all of your automatic updates are on and you should be fine. There are some customers who feel that, hey, you know what, I want to update these particular plugins on my own, or this version of this plugin worked best for me. I don't want that to be auto updated. That's all fine. It's just more so know where to find this and know how to manage it. Next chapter. This is where we kind of get into some of the things that I'm very excited about. So the review of last year's analytics. This is something that as a marketer I do on a daily basis. So the factors to consider prior to launching any kind of seasonal promotion or sales event is essentially, what is your most successful campaign? You've been doing this for a while, or maybe you're just getting started. What are things that have worked for you? What are things that you've seen work with other people, right? Review your sales and your marketing campaigns within at least the last 12 months. Which ones work best and why? The why question is one of the things where I think most customers, most users, customers, and website builders struggle with understanding why a campaign worked well. Was it the messaging? Was it the color? Was it the imagery? These are things that you're just going to have to sort of assess, dig into the data, and sort of see, okay, when I did an A/B test between blue and green, well, green seemed to perform better. Let's go with green imagery, right? These are things that it's both art and science, and don't be afraid to kind of, learn into how you really want to engage with that kind of data. what elements can you use this season? So that's essentially what I'm saying here is, what is it that has worked? What do you want to borrow? What do you want to leave behind? Like that absolutely did not work, and then throw back into the mix. What was your most popular item? This is something that, again, most small businesses and larger companies are going to look at. I mean, not even on a yearly basis, we're talking on a quarterly basis. What sold the best? What service sold the best? What maximizes revenue and profit? All these sort of things should go into what it is that you want to consider incorporating into your sale or your promotion for this year. This is one of those things where, depending on the ROI, depending on your margins, this could be your doorbuster deal, or this could be the deal that you actually leave the exact same price while you utilize other products and services as your doorbuster deals, with the intention of hoping to sell this your best seller at full price, simply by capitalizing on the increased traffic. Speaking of traffic, know what your traffic source is. I cannot stress this enough. This is one of those things where with the explosion of social media, with the explosion of, well, not explosion, but the ever presence of Google, you should know exactly how people find you. Do they type your domain name in directly? Do they know the name of your website? Or are they doing a general search and then kind of finding you in the search results? Are they landing on ads on Instagram versus Facebook? Right? These are the things that you should just sort of evaluate and understand, so that you know where to put your best foot forward out in the market. The last one is, what was your financial performance of last year? Are you projecting growth? Trying to identify what it is that you're seeing this year, and understanding sort of, okay, these products sell best. We are trying to grow, and we grow best when we sell X, Y, and Z. These things should all go into sort of your consideration for what you really want to put on sale, and how do you want to speak to the things that you want on sale. For example, there are many companies who are projecting growth, but they are projecting growth in, say, for example, gift cards, or they're projecting growth in, say, for example, one particular aspect of their product portfolio, not in the other aspects of their product portfolio. In that particular case, instead of trying to use a sale to, for lack of any better term, fix your weaknesses, quote unquote, what they're going to do is they're going to double down on their strengths. So this is a classic example of, okay, what are we trying to do? What are we good at? Let's play to our strengths. Now, the KPI, or key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, to review. I think we've all seen this before. Anybody who has Google Analytics recognizes most of these names. But essentially, what you should be looking for as you evaluate last year's performance is, what was your conversion rate? Your conversion rate is the total traffic divided by your completed purchases. This is key to understanding the effectiveness of your website. What this really means is, all the people, all the eyeballs that come to my website, how many of them are actually taking the action that I want them to take? Whether that be a purchase, whether that be booking an appointment, whether that just be simply signing up for, a newsletter. What is your overall conversion rate? How effective is your website at producing what it is you want your visitors to do? Next one, we already talked about this, but again, understand what your traffic sources are. Where are they coming from? What is your best channel, right? I've talked to many customers who their best channel, honestly, is eBay, right? eBay or Amazon. They have a product on Amazon, but they also have their website linked there. So for many customers who don't want to buy directly through Amazon, they'll click on the actual store and go to this person's individual website and then purchase from there. They leverage Amazon as a channel for getting traffic to their website, which seems counterintuitive, but it works great. Click-through rates. Is your call to action clear? Are buttons and links easily identifiable? Is your website ADA compliant? These three things may seem somewhat disparate from one another, but the truth of the matter is they're all interwoven. When I say call to action, what I'm really talking about here is not just the button, not just the link color or the button color. When I say call to action is, when you land on my website, do you know very clearly what it is that I want you to do? Do I want you to subscribe? Do I want you to purchase, to get started, quote unquote, right? ADA compliant. Are my buttons easily identifiable for someone who perhaps is colorblind, right? These are things that, when I look at click-through rates, all the sort of things that kind of go into what your click-through rate analysis should be. Bounce rates. Do customers land on your website and immediately leave? Are they able to find what it is that they're looking for? When you look at bounce rates and you see customers are kind of getting to you and not even spending more than 2 seconds on your website, there is something off, right? It could be your messaging. It could be that, I was coming here for car parts. I landed here. I was like, oh, you're just selling cars, right? All these things should kind of come into play as far as whether or not your keywords are correct. Is your messaging correct? Is your positioning of your products correct? Are they way down on the page? And so when they land on your homepage, they see all this great splashy stuff, but then they can't ever actually find your plans, right? Bounce rates are great for just being able to tell when customers get here, are they finding what they're looking for? I wouldn't say that it's the end all be all. There's a lot of bounce rates can be impacted by a lot of different things. Bots will sometimes hit your bounce rates, all that kind of good stuff. But it is something to just kind of monitor as sort of a tertiary KPI to understand, again, all leading back to what is your conversion rate. Heat maps are great. I love heat maps, but I try to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. Basically, a heat map is where are your customers scrolling? Do they get lost in the navigation? Are they confused? So I use a tool called Hotjar. This is great for just basically being able to tell when customer lands on my website, do I see their mouse just kind of floating around and not really understanding? Are they reading? All this kind of good stuff. Heat maps are a great way to tell, again, when they get here, how easy is it for them to find what it is they're looking for? And in the sake of a seasonal promotion, I would use a heat map to make sure, okay, I've put my offers and my promotions front and center for them. Are they going all the way down to the page and looking for something else? Or are they really engaging with what it is that I'm trying to get them to purchase? The last one is average revenue per session or per customer or per unit. It has a lot of different names, but essentially all this really comes down to is, are there ways to encourage cross-sell or higher tier products given a stable traffic level? What I mean by this is, say for example, you don't experience a traffic spike. Say for example, you have a very steady state traffic site. Well, when you're looking at your analytics from last year, try to get an understanding of what the average revenue per session was and whether or not you can move that needle in a higher direction. The way that you would do that is if your traffic has remained stable and you've basically, you know your traffic sources, you know your conversion rate, is there a way to say, okay, cool, when this customer comes in and they buy shoes, can I also sell them laces? Can I also sell them this or that or gift wrapping, right? Average revenue per session is a great metric to track because it allows you to sort of, I would say, have a target to throw your dart at and say, how is it that with the same amount of traffic, I could potentially get more out of this traffic? Next one. There we go. So this is just an example of an analytics dashboard. Anyone who has leveraged Google Analytics before, you've seen this. But most analytic platforms are going to have the basics, right? So it doesn't matter if you're using Google Analytics or Jetpack Analytics or Monster Insights, which is powered by Google Analytics, or perhaps a custom dashboard. Again, something akin to the Wix has their own dashboard, their own site analytics dashboard. Shopify most certainly has its own analytics dashboard. The key things that you're looking for on that last slide should also be present here. You'll find what it is your average traffic is. You'll find how many users you get at any given point in time, so you know when your hotspots are, right? Is noon the best time of day to really kind of, having people land on your website? You'll see what your revenue is on any given point in time. If you run a successful sale, you will see that nice little spike there in this image. So the only reason this is here is just to say most analytic dashboards are going to have everything that I just talked about. All right, let's get into the fun stuff because this is really what matters the most when it comes to running any kind of seasonal promotion, any kind of holiday sale, is what does your website look like? Let's once again start with the foundation. One second. Sorry, my mouse just disappeared. There we go. The foundation. So any website should absolutely have an attention-grabbing headline. Your visitors need to know and understand what is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you want them to do? And what is your website all about? What is your brand all about? The headline is the first thing that they're going to read. So it should clearly communicate the value of your brand, your website, and any offer that you have. Imagery. I cannot tell you, I mean, let's go backwards in time here for a little bit. 2002, 2003, the amount of websites that were just completely scattered with images, and it was just kind of, your eyes just kind of go cross-eyed for a moment there. We've come a long way since then. Great imagery is the mark between someone who knows how to build a website and someone who is still learning how to build a website. The images are absolutely mandatory. They should clearly represent your target audience. Your audience should get to your website and feel like, oh yeah, this person gets it. This is the imagery I expected to see. This is absolutely the feeling that I wanted to feel when I got here. your images should also convey the feeling that the visitor should have when they accept your offer. So a lot of smiling imagery you'll see across the website, a lot of happy faces you'll typically see on most e-commerce websites, because it is about emotion. It is about purchasing something that is going to make you feel good. You should have CTAs. So again, call to action goes beyond just the button. I know a lot of places, talk about CTAs as just the button. They talk about it as links, but truly for me, the call to action is, what does it all come down to? What is the overarching message getting down to? Yes, a single button, but does it make sense to click that button once you get there? Once your mouse is hovering over that, the imagery, the headlines, all the messaging that has been on this website, does it all make sense to now click this thing? Classic important element for any website. Also, an adjustment to your normal navigation. Now, this is one that I would say it's not prescriptive. Nothing in this deck is prescriptive. Obviously, do what's right for your website. So what I mean here is, when you're running a seasonal promotion, and we will go into some examples here in a second, it is important to give your customers I'd say a shortcut to your offers in some way, shape, or form. What we typically see whenever someone is running a sale or promotion is that they will put special offers, or they'll put deals, or they'll put gifts front and center. As everyone reads left to right, at least on the western part of our planet, reading left to right, they will usually move what they want you to go, where they want you to go, to the left-hand side of their navigation. So when I say adjustment to your normal navigation, when you're running a sale, at least consider it. At least think about, what do I want my navigation to actually be? Contact options, naturally, this is important for any website. Make sure you have a way for customers to get a hold of you. SEO. We're going to dive into this a little bit more in the marketing section, but I mean, the bottom line is you need to make sure that you have proper keyword utilization. Make sure that your meta tags are up to date, your page titles are good to go. These are things that they take time. This is not something that you're going to do overnight, but the bottom line is they're just foundational for your website. Make sure you have a thank you page naturally. This is one of those things where, as someone purchases, show the appreciation for your visitor, show the appreciation for your customer. It also kind of gives them sort of the warm and fuzzy, but also gives them a landing point. Usually on a thank you page, there will be a contact us, or a, hey, you've just received an email. So just something for them to validate their purchase. Lastly, already mentioned this before, make sure that you are mobile friendly. Now, when running a promotion, it is important to make sure that you let everyone know that you're running a promotion. Sale graphics are important. Again, updating that imagery to say sale, or Black Friday sale, or St. Patty's Day sale, whatever. Bottom line is let people know that you are absolutely running a sale. Don't assume that your visitors are going to know that just because it is the holiday season, well, naturally they're going to have a sale. Let them know that there's absolutely a sale. Once again, touch on those best-selling seasonal items. So find a way to highlight any of your best-selling products. This again goes back to what your respective business is. This is very much so in line with, what is your ROI? What are your margins, right? You could have a best-selling product that is not necessarily high margin. You could have another product that is high margin. That is a business decision that you'll need to sort of land upon. The last suggestion here is to have a seasonal sales section. So this is a classic example of sort of changing your navigation. This is like, we're having a Halloween sale, we're having a Christmas sale, we're having a Kwanzaa sale, anything along those lines. Put it up there inside of the navigation, or have an easy button to get to see all the deals that are associated with the sale. This goes right in line. Very interesting things to do from a design standpoint is to introduce seasonal elements on your website to make it appear new and exciting. So if you have a website that perhaps doesn't change very often, it's fine to put, lights, holly, jack-o'-lanterns, things along those lines, just to kind of let people know, yes, we are relevant, and yes, we are actively updating our website. Again, I can't speak enough to, there are many times where visitors will land on a website that has not changed in many, many months. They will feel like maybe they shouldn't purchase from this because maybe no one's still following up on it, no one is still updating it. If you kind of show a seasonal element to your website, something that you update often, repeat visitors at the very least will come back and know, okay, yes, they are still very much so engaged in this website. This is still very much so a channel that they're working on and optimizing. Have holiday related content. Think of ways that your audience might have, think of what your audience might have in mind during the holiday season. Try to prepare content ahead of time. What this really means is, if you have a blog associated with your store, this is a great time of year to say, oh man, you know what, here's a new post all about this, all about this holiday season coming up, or all about how your mother-in-law was absolutely going to love this thing that I'm currently working on, right? Holiday related content helps sort of prime the pump, if you will, for your visitors to come in, truly engage with content with no expectation on their end to purchase anything yet. It's just simply you're giving an idea. You're sort of just casting a line out there and saying, hey, this is what I do. I'm really great at knitting. I'm really great at making custom guitars. And by the way, I'm working on this one for, Dia de los Muertos. And have the blog out there, have a video out there that just kind of gets customers engaged. Lastly is the holiday gift guide. This is something that has been used in time immemorial. Bottom line is if you can get on a existing holiday gift guide, that's awesome. If you can create your own, that is also great. Basically, this is used in a lot of newsletter tactics where essentially you're like, hey, top 10 gifts for him, top 10 gifts for her, and kind of send it out to your customers and let them know what it is you have in store, or get on an existing one. If you're lucky enough to get on one of the Amazon ones, it's like top 100 gifts, and then they basically have all the shops listed out as far as everything that's about to go on sale. Etsy is also a great place for that. Next, so we're gonna go through some examples really quickly. First one is Kendra Scott. So one of the things that I'm talking about is this notion of sort of staying on brand, right? So yes, Kendra Scott uses very pastel colors, very soft colors, but when they run a sale, they still stick with those soft colors, right? However, you see a top banner that kind of would direct your customers all the way to an all deals section. They maintain that similar color scheme, but they have repurposed their hero image to show specifically what they want their visitors to buy. They will have a top line seasonal messaging. What I mean by that is like the more you buy, the merrier. Obviously in time or on point for sort of the holiday season in December. And then, as I mentioned before, that gifts is moved all the way to the left-hand side in the top navigation, and you will see sale all the way on the right-hand side in that top navigation. Those things will kind of come and go throughout the year, but absolutely during a seasonal promotion, both are there. The next example is a stark contrast. It is, if it clicks forward, there we go. An example of Old Navy. So as you can see, Old Navy definitely went loud and proud with this one. This is a merry and bright example. So it is an explosion of color, a lot of different things to look at, right? So again, I'm not trying to be prescriptive here. What I'm saying is there are a lot of things you can do with your website. So in the example of Old Navy, what they've done is they have a sales offering front and center here in the hero. They had everything on sale. There's obviously a sense of urgency as well in the header. You can see, hurry, deals end in 24 hours. They have a sort of a ticking timer. There's plenty of plugins that you can leverage for something like that, especially in the WordPress space, and it is a great marketing tactic. You can see holiday designs everywhere with bows and sort of cold weather gear, things along those lines. They've also very smartly did a sort of a bundled approach where it's saying, hey, these things are all $3. They've bundled them together all on the side so that you can click one CTA on the far right-hand side and see all of the products that are now for $3. They also, at the very top, have shipping callouts. So for anyone who does shipping of products and things along those lines, it's always super important to let people know, especially during a holiday promotion, when is the final date that they need to purchase something in order to get it shipped by X date, right? Or if there's a special promotion for shipping by X date. So they've obviously, put it up there in the top and said, hey, by the way, there's free shipping if you do X, Y, and Z. Once again, they've called out gifts just about everywhere. They've moved it into their top navigation so that it is easy to find. And they've called out gift lists, also known as wish lists. So this is a great tactic also that many companies use, which is, okay, you're not here to buy right now, but perhaps you can create sort of a wish list to send to other people or to keep for yourself for later. My favorite one and my personal tactic is the less is more. This is Nike. So Nike does not go splashy. They don't change everything. At least they didn't last year. Basically, what they will do is they will highlight the products and services that they want you to consider. So this is, in many cases, the exact same priced items. They just move them front and center. And then they start to promote gift cards. So for most of Nike's, I would say, seasonal promotions, it's like, hey, this is what we sell. This is what we always sell. You know us, but perhaps you would like to get a gift card for someone so that they can also purchase what they would like, right? They do call out fleece because it is timely for the season, it's colder weather, but the bottom line is they're not really saying, oh, 20% off, 40% off. There's more so saying, this is what we sell. Here's some lights around our gift card. By all means, it is a gift. Buy it for someone else and go on with your bad self. That is 3 different approaches, 3 different examples of what you can do on your website to sort of, I would say, invoke a sense of a seasonal promotion. Outside of your website, there are things to consider. Things like email channels, your social presence, and banner ads. We'll get into this when we get into the marketing section, but it's always important to remember your website is your flagship, yes, but you have to utilize peripheral things to drive people there. So leveraging your email channels. Do you have some sort of email marketing platform, right? Make sure that your emails match the imagery that's going to be on your website so that there's a similarity when they land there. Same thing with your social presence. As you're out in the wild in Instagram or on Facebook, make sure that imagery, that messaging is all in line with what it is that they're going to see when they land on your website as well. Same goes for any sort of banner ads that are out on the wild. Next, going into chapter 4. So these are your key plugins. And before I start here, what I will say is this: by all means, this is again not meant to be prescriptive. Not all plugins are needed for every single e-commerce website. You should find the plugins that work best for you, depending on what it is you're trying to achieve, depending on whatever your business goals are, or even just simply what your website goals are. So the key plugins that I have listed here are what I consider to be core to an e-commerce store, but they are not the end all be all. So for example, wish lists. Wish lists are something that allow your customers to create a connection with your store right off the bat. They can save their favorite items or they can send it to others. Think of registries, right? They're not buying anything directly right now, but they're letting their friends and family know that these are the things that you like. This is genius because it also allows you to gain awareness out in the market with other potential prospects and customers who may not have even known about your website yet. Same goes for gift cards. It allows your customers to purchase from your store without actually purchasing any inventory. It's a great tool, again, to build awareness, and it makes sure that you have just make sure that you have a variety of holiday themed options. So what I mean by that is this: very similar to what Nike did, where they're like, hey, buy our gift cards, and they have the little lights wrapped around their logo. You should have multiple variants of what a gift card could be purchased from your store. It's very simple to do. There's a Yith plugin that allows you to do that. But again, if you're talking about seasonal promotions, you should have gift cards that look, kind of festive for the holidays in December, St. Patty's Day, Halloween, things along those lines, just to kind of add that little element of seasonality to it. Cart abandonment. This to me is very important for anybody who, again, is very focused on conversion rate. So this allows you to reach out to customers who forgot to check out. They were in the checkout, they got distracted, they left. They were in the checkout, like, oh, I'll get it later, and now they've completely forgotten. Like, just some sort of email reminder to let them know, hey, your cart's still waiting for you. The last is upsell, cross-sell plugins. This one's interesting because there are a lot of them out there. Essentially, what this allows you to do is suggest additional items to be purchased once they're inside of cart. So this means I've gotten some all the way there, and now it's like, hey, add some gift wrap, add a message card, add another color, another size, things along those lines without them having to leave the cart itself. Finding plugins has never been easier though. So back in the day, it was kind of difficult to find the right plugin for you. WordPress has made it pretty simple. I know a lot of the proprietary builders have made it very simple to find extensions. I mean, literally, if you go in there and you type in gift cards, you type in wish list, you are going to find something that works for you. I have Yith pulled up here because Yith, in my personal opinion, is one of the best plugin creators for WooCommerce. So they make very easy to use plugins. They make very easy to the interface itself is incredibly intuitive. I personally like it, but obviously find the plugin that is right for you and for your store. Obviously, have your payment methods set up. This is something that I've seen happen time and time again, is that people, they will know that they accept PayPal, they will know that they accept Stripe, but then upon a seasonal promotion, something has changed in their cart, and now those accounts are no longer linked. So this kind of goes back to, hey, are all your plugins up to date? Or is your hosting up to date? Are your payment processors up to date? Are they still linking to the right accounts that you want them to link to? So again, as far as plugins are concerned and really the magic behind your store, find the one that works for you. I always recommend having multiple payment options. So PayPal, Stripe, Amazon, Apple Pay, Google Pay. These things are all fairly, pervasive throughout the industry. So, it is very likely that someone's going to use one of these things to purchase from you. Shipping logistics is another one. This is make sure that this is ready to go. if you store your inventory locally, make sure that you have your inventory ready to go. I mean, I know that there have absolutely been supply chain issues and things along those lines. Before running a sale, if you know what you're going to put on sale, make sure you have it. Make sure you know how much you have in the event you need to turn it off from your store, right? Shut off the promotion. But procure it, storage, and label creation. These are all things that you should take care of ahead of time. If you outsource your inventory, make sure that you contact your shipper or producer to check on the holiday timeline so that your website displays the up-to-date information. This is something that I think tripped a lot of people up last year. I think it's getting better this year, but it's one of these situations where if you choose to display on your website exactly when someone needs to buy something to have it shipped by X date, this is something that you should truly believe in, so that you believe it, so you know it will be shipped out at the right time, but also your customer will believe in it to maintain that level of trust to keep them coming back. Review your shipping policies. Also, can't stress this enough. This is one of those situations where you need to ensure that there are no discrepancies between your terms of service, your money back guarantees, or your cancellation policies. The holidays get hectic, these promotions get a little hectic. You're going to see an influx in calls and an influx of questions. So just make sure that you're buttoned up as far as the fine print on how you basically run your business. But once again, just to touch back on this, is make sure you have an analytic tool of some sort. I personally love Google Analytics, but Jetpack is awesome, and so is Monster Insights. The reason why you want this is because what you're going to do this year is the same thing you're going to do next year. You're going to review how the previous year performed. You will want to know, okay, when I made these changes, this is how it impacted my business. So while you're working on what plugins you want, you should also work on what analytical tools are you going to have in your pocket to make sure that things are moving in the right direction. The same goes also for any campaigns you're running. This is not just, oh, how did my website perform and how did people get to me? This is also, how did my campaigns perform? In the email space, in the paid ad space, you'll want to basically be able to track the success rate of your campaigns in each one of their channels. So what I have here is Creative Mail, MailChimp, Constant Contact, but also Google Ads is another great example of something that you should just sort of have in the back of your mind as a tool to review. Last but not least, marketing to move the needle. So this is just tactics that I recommend. You'll naturally, the core of your website is engaging content. What you talk about, what you do is absolutely the most, that's why people are showing up to begin with. So for me, if you really want to have a successful holiday promotion of any kind, you should start building engaging content now. Blog posts, product reviews, video tutorials are a great way to inspire your customers to action. What I mean by that is, if you know that there's a particular product that you want to have on sale, specifically for your holiday promotion, start reviewing it. Have someone else review it. Do a video tutorial of how it works ahead of the actual promotion, so people kind of get it in their mind that, oh, that's really easy to use. That's really awesome. Actually, that looked really cool. And then when you put it on sale, much more higher chance of them wanting to use it. Holiday gift guides, we kind of touched on this, but essentially get your customers thinking about what would make a great gift ahead of time. Send out that holiday gift guide. I don't know about the rest of you, but like, I've already received the Amazon, top 20 toys to buy for your kids, and it's almost the end of October. I've already received that. Target most certainly has already done that. Holiday gift guides are a great tactic. It's classic marketing. Next one, SEO. This is basically me saying, yes, you should do an SEO health check. You should leverage a plugin like Yoast. There are other ones out there, but basically to help improve your site's ranking on search engine results. Keep in mind, however, that SEO is a long process. It takes a few months before you see any difference. So it's best to start this early as a foundational step for your website as a whole. Backlinks are your friends. Link to relevant articles or products on your website to boost your SEO score. If you're not doing that now, I suggest doing it before you start any kind of seasonal promotion. But more importantly, avoid keyword stuffing. The Google algorithms skip or penalize websites that overuse keywords or link to irrelevant content. So this is not saying, I'm selling shoes, so you should have blue shoes, blue shoes, blue shoes in every single place that you can possibly put it, right? You will get penalized. It needs to be relevant. It needs to make sense where your keywords are on your page and within your content. Social media, this one's classic. Basically, it's going to get hectic. It's going to be busy, especially if you're running a successful sale or promotion. I strongly recommend that you get a plugin like Social Pilot, Sendable, or Hootsuite that essentially would schedule posts for you, so that you're not in the middle of your sale also having to send things out on Instagram and Facebook. Basically, you will utilize a plugin that can schedule posts for you. They'll free you up for running your business during the sale itself. So as questions start coming in, as customer contacts start coming in, you don't have to worry about like, well, hold on, I got to send out this picture of this thing that I'm selling. Paid ads, depending on your budget, seasonal sales are a great time to consider paying for ads. Just keep in mind that the competition will be fierce. Your competitors are likely also paying for ads at the same time. So if you have not been spending on them all year round, this is a good time to consider it because it is very likely that your competition will be as well. But just keep in mind, it'll likely be a little bit more expensive than it is in a seasonal promotion than it would be any other time of year. Lastly, on this one, consistency is key. You should keep your messaging and imagery consistent with whatever it is you've done on your website. It reduces the confusion upon landing on your website. So if you're using a certain kind of color scheme on your main website, and then all of a sudden you decide to go with red instead of blue inside of your ads, believe it or not, that does have sort of a disconnect for your customers. Just make sure that that imagery is nice and consistent, as well as the offers themselves. Don't say 75% off in an ad, and they land on your website, it's only 30% off. Next one, classic email. This one, I think we've been doing this for years, but the bottom line is build seasonal email campaigns for all the holidays. This is incredibly easy to do in like the same tools that I mentioned before, Creative Mail, MailChimp, Constant Contact. Basically go out there and build an army of campaigns. You need to create a sense of urgency. Whenever you run a seasonal promotion, it's like limited time only. That goes a good way, but also last 24 hours or Cyber Monday only. That kind of language does in fact create a sense of urgency inside of your emails. Create a cart abandonment campaigns. We kind of talked about this, but this is again very easy to do inside of any email marketing program. Essentially, when someone leaves your cart, your email program will recognize that and send them an email saying, hey, you forgot your cart. I do this every single day in my day job. A/B testing of your emails. Essentially, you should always have a campaign running with a B variant. This way, again, when you go back and do your sort of reevaluation of how it is your last year, how your last year performed, you can say, okay, variant A, the control definitely lost out to my new challenger because I used X, Y, and Z colors, I used X, Y, and Z messaging. Now I know for this year, this messaging resonates more than my control. And then track effectiveness equally. What I mean by that is in email specifically, not all email campaigns are created equal. Some email campaigns are purely for the sake of awareness. Sometimes they're just out there saying, hey, my name is Chris and I sell guitars, right? And that's you. Sure, come to my website and come learn more, but I'm not expecting you to convert right off the bat. Other emails are their primary purpose is in fact to drive a conversion. It's like, hey, not only do I sell guitars, but they're 50% off, and click this link for a special offer. Track your effectiveness of your email campaigns equally. Some have different purposes. Second to last is your products. Look for opportunities to bundle the items. We saw this on Old Navy's website. Basically, if you can put more things together and sort of package it all up in a single price, more likely to sell it. Promote products that have the best ROI for your business. Now, what I mean by ROI here is that ROI can be tangible or intangible. Sometimes it really is selling the highest margin product, right? Sometimes it really is, hey, the cost of goods sold is so low, for me not to sell this would be silly. But in other cases, sometimes you have a surplus and it makes more sense to sell these products because it will free up space inside of your inventory. So make that analysis. Sometimes you're selling things to spread awareness. Sometimes, I mean, for example, we talked to a customer a few weeks ago that literally sells water bottles, and during their seasonal promotion, they changed the name on their water bottles to whatever it is, whatever company that they are trying to promote at that particular point in time to spread awareness for that company. It's a completely different business model than selling your own goods. It's just simply saying, look, now our partnership makes much more sense to do this at a higher traffic time of year. Lastly is discount subscriptions or memberships if that's the kind of business you have. This is genius because if you can discount a subscription or a membership, you obviously bring more people in the door. It is more likely that they will renew, or at least at a greater volume will renew, and therefore you build a recurring revenue year over year. Last but not least is your partners. Do not be afraid to collaborate with complementary businesses for multi-brand bundling. The added benefit is having another brand advertise your products. You can also build content together to review each other's products. So again, that kind of goes back to creating engaging content. If you can partner with someone and you both basically review each other's products and put it out into your respective ecosystems, you now have awareness in their customer base and they have awareness in your customer base, sort of a mutually beneficial partnership there. And then, of course, join holiday gift guides or directories that offer similar products to yours. So again, top 100 handmade gifts, 2022, top 100 gifts for him and her, 2022, things along those lines. Very classic approach to sort of partner marketing as far as that's concerned. There's one other type of marketing on here that is not called out on this slide that I personally love. It's called counter programming. And what that technically is if you are in fact a small business and you make handmade goods or you do something that is unique, you can also go out into the ecosystem, if you will, and say, hey, don't buy from those big brand names like, you know, so and so and so and so. Basically, you can say buy locally, buy from the small guy, buy from me because I produce naturally, I produce this, or I have organic. The counter programming basically means you know that there is a large sale going on, there's a large seasonal promotion going on, but what you are offering yourself up as the alternative to buying from one of these larger conglomerates. Counter programming has become incredibly effective over the past few years. So yeah, with that, I will end my piece. I think we're right at time. Yes, Q&A.
Awesome. That was a lot of information. Thank you. That a lot of great information as well. I was able to get to most of the questions that came up in the chat. So I actually have a couple questions of my own that were not brought up in the chat, but that I want to ask you anyway. Two questions in particular. One, customer service. Can you tell me a little bit about the role of customer service and maybe like integrating a live chat as a business owner? What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's always a smart thing to do. Like again, when you're running these promotions, you want to establish trust. Of course, you're trying to sell something, but you also want to establish trust. That's what keeps people coming back. So when you have a customer service angle or someone who can literally talk on the phone or literally chat with you, you instill a sense of confidence in your customer and saying, okay, this person, if I have any questions or concerns, they will immediately respond to me. They will be available to me.
Yeah, I think that's great, and letting them know that they have an outlet that's readily available
That's
is
exactly right.
perfect. The other one that I think you and I spoke briefly about when we were planning some of this, but I'd love for you to share your insights with the rest of the people on the call. We did not cover pop-ups as a sales form. Can you share your thoughts and feelings on that as a
Sure thing.
marketing tool?
So I will say this, pop-ups are a great tool when used properly, right? All of us have been, we all endured the part of the internet where pop-ups were everywhere, right? Where it was like, it gets to a point where it can be really, really helpful, or it can become completely detrimental to your website. So I would say if you're going to use pop-ups, use them intelligently, use them like a CTA, and use one. I cannot stress that enough. It is one of the situations, I mean, how many of us have been on our phone or have been on our tablets, and all of a sudden you go to a website which does in fact utilize pop-ups? It'd probably be just fine if it was on a desktop, but suddenly on the phone, it completely crowds what it is that you're trying to even look at, right? So I would say use one and let it be a driving factor to exactly what you want them to land on. What I mean by that is, like, if you're gonna use a pop-up during a seasonal promotion, is to like, check out all our deals starting at 30% off, one button that clicks and lands them on the page that shows you all the deals, not every time you go somewhere, there's a different pop-up that says, look at this, look at that.
Yeah, from personal experience, if I'm going to a website and I know already I want to make a purchase and I get like something that pops up that says, hey, join our newsletter for an additional 10% off. I'm like, okay, I was going to make a purchase anyway, so I'll take the extra 10% off, whatever. But if I'm not sure I'm making a purchase and I'm just kind of like looking into it or reading a blog or just trying to gather information, as soon as I see a pop-up, I'm out. I
That's
don't want
right.
anything to do with that. And I
Uh,
say, no, thank you.
another good use of a pop-up is in the event you are in cart and you want to have an exit offer. What that basically means is someone is in cart ready to purchase and they're going to hover over the X. Utilize a pop-up that says, hey, before you go, buy today and get an additional 10% off, right? That's another great use of a pop-up, but I would be cautious of overusing pop-ups.
Completely agree. I apologize. I muted for a second because my dog wanted to join the webinar and she is not a slated speaker today. So I muted that. But I think we're just about at time. And I think, let's see. Interesting. So someone from the chat said that their experience with chat is diametrically opposed to what we just said.
Yeah.
You should only have chat if you're willing to staff it well and treat your customers with respect. I think that's
Naturally, yes.
yes.
You want to make sure you have a good experience, right? I have had the experience, I've had that exact same experience where suddenly I'm sitting on chat and that trust is not being garnered, right? Because all of a sudden I can't get a hold of anybody. If you're going to have chat, make sure that it is in fact staffed appropriately and someone's going to treat you with respect. That goes without saying. I would still say I would recommend it if you can do that. If you cannot do that, have strong help articles, have a responsive contact us form, right? The whole purpose of it is to show that yes, I am available to you, I am responsive to you.
And in addition to that, if I remember correctly, Google and other search engines actually reward having those chat lines and contact lines in SEO efforts. So if you don't have them, if Google feels like you're not making yourself available, then they will deprioritize your site when it comes to the search results page. So,
It won't come up as strongly, I would say. You're not going to get
right,
penalized,
right.
but yes, the websites that are good at it obviously are going to have, they will be promoted. In some ways, it's self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you are good at that, more people are going to come back to your website. You will continue to kind of show up in the search responses because people are now actively looking for you. So, yeah, it's if you're good at it, stay good at it. If you're not good at it, you should probably try to get good at it.
Two brands that I know are very good at customer support. Chick-fil-A. I've heard a lot of stories about people that have had perhaps not a great issue, and then they reach out and share that, and they do everything they can to turn that around. And as far as a little bit more tangible brand, REI, which is
Mhm.
an outdoor retailing company, if people are not familiar with it, they have a great return policy. They're always very helpful to make sure that whatever you purchase from their store meets your needs. So if it's not meeting your needs and you bring it back, they're always very willing to work with you to get you um, satisfied with their products. So shout out to both of those two brands for leading the way in customer service.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's everything that I had. Is there anything else that comes to your mind that you want to end on, Chris?
No, this was great. Hopefully this was helpful. For deep dives into plugins and things along those lines, I think we can run other workshops and things along those lines. But, by and large, hopefully this was helpful. These were 5 tips to help you run a promotional sale for the holidays. And if you have any questions, let us know.
Awesome. Yeah, and to echo what you said, the holiday season is right around the corner. If you follow this and kind of customize it for your website, then I guarantee that you'll see an uptick in sales, and you'll have a better time with your holiday marketing. So thank you all for tuning in. One last housekeeping thing. I will be uploading this video that we're in right now to the Bluehost YouTube channel under the webinar playlist. So that should be there in the next 24 to 48 hours. And we will also be sending out a replay to everyone that registered for this event. So if you want to come back and watch it, I know we covered a lot of information in a very little time. So if you want to kind of dissect it at your own pace and make changes to your website as you go through this and pause and play as you want, that will be available on YouTube in the next 24 hours, and you should get a link to your inbox in the next 48 hours at the most. So, Chris, huge thank you. Greatly appreciate you coming in and sharing your information and knowledge with us. Thank you, everyone that tuned in and asked questions and participated. And one other thing, in December, we will be having a half-day online event for anyone that wants to continue building out their WordPress website, whether it's an e-commerce store or just a WordPress website. We're going to be bringing in a couple professionals from the WordPress community to help educate everyone that participates. So keep an eye on your inbox for registration for that. I believe we'll be sending out invitations in the next few days. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in a month or two. Thanks again, Chris, for joining us.
Sure thing. Thank you.